So after not having a AFL trade for like at least 3 days, we finally have a ton of new news and information to talk about. Some blockbuster trades that I think pretty much everybody and their dad did not see coming. I mean, I'm looking at you, Carlton. There was some definite interesting moves there that I think a lot of people are just looking at like The Rock when he does that one smolder that he always does. And then you've got AFL fans who are out here looking like that one Mike Wazowski meme who just flat out disagree with some of the trades. So there's some very interesting things to, of course, go over, and a lot of new rumours, which we'll definitely be starting off with very shortly. But again, before I do get into that, there is still a pretty big number of you guys who watch these videos who are not subscribed to the channel. So you know what, again, if you haven't already, please do me a favor and leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell. It all goes a long way to putting a smile on my face and really making me happy, because you know what, there's some things in the last couple of days that I've just watched that have made me want to jump off the biggest bridge in Melbourne. And I'm looking at the newest Joker movie and KSI's new music video with Trippie Redd. That was enough to make me not want to be here anymore. But you know what? We've got some really interesting things here. There was actually a report the other day that did suggest that Essendon currently has pick number 9. My understanding is that there has been potentially talk about St Kilda trading with Essendon. St Kilda would get back pick 9, and they would trade away their future first round pick and a swap of some other later picks, leaving them with picks 7, 8, and 9 in the 2024 AFL draft. This is being reported by John Denohu, SCN. Shout out John Denohu. That's one of the more freaky last names that I've seen. I mean, a good freaky John Denohu. Again, this has been going around like a little bit now because a lot of St Kilda fans are very, very happy. And I mean, why wouldn't you? If you can get pick 9 in this year's AFL draft, a draft that has been said to be one of the best drafts in the history and potentially have the most depth we've ever seen in an AFL draft. If you can get picks 7, 8, and 9 in this draft, that is almost rivalrying, whatever the word is, with Richmond for the best and deepest draft hand so far. But again, I don't think there's going to be much to talk about here. We have known as well that Essendon have been pretty public on them wanting to go to the draft, so I don't necessarily see this deal getting done unless St Kilda go about this and try and pay overs for this pick. I think Essendon will be happy to take pick 9 into the draft and try and capitalize on the depth that we have been so-called hearing about with this draft class. But again, if St Kilda want to get something like this done, we just saw an AFL trade that just happened with Carlton and Hawthorn, where Carlton semi-overpaid potentially to try and get a pick in this year's draft. So maybe this does happen. Maybe St Kilda do offer not only their future first, but a future second as well, similar to what Carlton have done. I'm not exactly too sure, but again, in terms of that Carlton trade as well, it was being reported that the Blues have traded for pick 14 and have given Hawthorn their future first and future second. Again, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about this trade, especially on SCN, or I think it was AFL Trade Radio. There were definitely a couple of Carlton fans who rang up pretty upset saying they overpaid to get pick 14. But the reality is, whether they trade this in a package to get Dan Houston or not, I actually don't mind this move by Carlton, because I think after this year, after the draft is all said and done, this should be the team now that they are looking to take to try and get another premiership that they haven't had in so long. If we think about it, they've now got pick 12 and 14 in what's said to be one of the most stacked draft classes we have ever seen. You add those two picks as well as the father-sons that they should be getting too. This team should be set not only with the veterans, but the players in their prime and the young core. As far as Hawthorn are concerned as well, they add into next year's draft, get, again, probably a bit more than what they thought they were going to get at 14. It's the whole reason they did this move. I still think this is a win-win for both teams. I think, again, if you're a Carlton fan, if you're stressing at home, don't, because this is supposed to be a good draft, then you got a very good chance of knocking this pick out the park. But again, because Hawthorn traded away their pick 14 to Carlton, this has left a lot of trades in really weird situations. We know Liam Baker, again, West Coast were supposed to trade Tom Barrass to Hawthorn for pick 14 and a bit more, and they were supposed to then go and send pick 14 to Liam Baker. None of this is happening now, and we've got AFL reporters like John Ralph going on Fox Footy and saying that they don't know if this West Coast deal with Liam Baker can get done. And a deal that was already being said to be like a last-minute AFL day deal could actually be extended more and more. And we've heard rumours going around online that Liam Baker has kind of panicked to his agent and manager, and I think we'll actually be setting up some more meetings with Fremantle and has been in active talks with Richmond list manager Blair Hartley to figure out what is going on. If he can't get to West Coast, what are his other options? Of course, it's Freo, but again, what are Freo going to give up for him? And then you look at Tom Barrass. How's that whole situation going to go now? Because he was supposed to get traded for pick 14 and a bit more. They don't have pick 14 anymore. So a lot of questions to go on with there. In terms of some other AFL trades that have been put in a bit of limbo, North Melbourne reportedly rejected Sydney's latest offer for Luke Parker. The Swans actually asked for a second round pick for him, which, again, in this year's draft, the Roos currently have pick 24. And look, I like Luke Parker as much as the next guy. I think this guy is a very quality AFL player. But in a draft class that is so stacked as this one, pick 24 is a lot for a guy who was not in Sydney's team for like the first half of the year. And then when he did get in the team, Sydney sent him down forward and then had him tagging defenders in certain games. I don't know if Sydney, if they want to keep Luke Parker, I mean, they can. But I don't know if Sydney have a whole lot of say right now with what Luke Parker's value is. And I think if North Melbourne offered you their third round pick this year and like a future third, that's a deal worth taking. I think that's the middle ground they're going to have to be going with, because I think it was said that North Melbourne actually offered Sydney like their fourth round pick for Luke Parker. That's not going to get done. They want a second round pick. North wants to offer a fourth. Meet in the middle, guys. Do a third round pick and maybe a future third. I just think, yeah, this deal should get done, but it's still complicated and we'll have to wait and see. Again, the first official confirmed trade in days for the 2024 AFL trade period was one that has made me a very excited little boy. And that is the Richmond Tigers trading away pick 32, 42 that they got back for Jack Graham, 43 and 45 to the Brisbane Lions, where the Lions gave the Tigers pick number 20. I mean, this is one of the biggest win-wins that I have seen in AFL trade history in a long time. Again, most trades, everyone will have their different opinion on who won it and who's come out better. But if we look at this one and dive into it a little bit more, yeah, this is a massive win-win for both Brisbane and Richmond. No one truly loses this, and we'll start off with the Brisbane one first. I mean, this is a no-brainer. You have Levi Ashcroft, who is will be a guaranteed top 5 pick. I don't think Richmond will bid on him at 1, but I guarantee you either North will bid on him at 2 or West Coast will bid on him at 3. The reality is that you're going to need a lot of points to get Levi Ashcroft, and what has made this even more complicated is that they now have another guy who is projected to go top 25 and could go as far as top 15, who is from their academy that they're going to need points to go and try and get. Do the Brisbane Lions have the points to get Levi Ashcroft right now? It's tough to say because anything can happen, and the other academy player that they've got, if he gets drafted anywhere near the top 10, that's a lot of problems for Brisbane. But what I will say is bringing in 32, 42, 43, and 45 comes with a lot of points that will not only secure you the Ashcroft move, but will make it a little bit easier to get to that academy player. Richmond, this is the trade that they need to do. They're already looking to get a bunch of first round picks for all these other situations and moves. They have already like a guarantee of probably 6 to 7 picks in this year's draft. They didn't need to go into this year's draft with like 11 or 12 picks. So moving on those 4 picks and bringing pick 20, which is probably the equivalent of like pick 12 in most draft classes, is a great move by the Richmond Football Club. And at the time making this video, they have pick 1, pick 20, and 24. And obviously, if you guys are watching this video a day or 2 or 3 after it's come out, obviously Richmond are probably going to have a ton of more other picks for the other players that are going to be getting traded, like Shea Bolton and Daniel Rioli. So this is a great move by Richmond, and it's a great move by Brisbane. It's an ultimate win-win for both teams, and one of the best win-win situations that I've seen for quite a while that's definitely set up both parties to do exactly what they want to do, draft time. If we're going to continue to talk about Richmond as well, I saw something by David King that was being discussed on Fox Footy by saying, if you're going to get rid of them, what's the point of being half pregnant? You either go one way or the other. David King on how Richmond should attack their rebuild on Fox Footy's trading day, and he even went as far to go and say that Richmond should trade Tom Lynch. Now, don't get me wrong, it's definitely a bit too late for, I think, the Tigers to be considering trading Tom Lynch, and I wouldn't do it if I was Richmond. Like, I just would not do it at all. From what they said on Fox Footy, Richmond could get maybe pick 25 for Tom Lynch, right? And maybe they'd pay half his salary and the other team would pay the other half. Don't get me wrong, pick 25 would be awesome for Richmond. But with the amount of draftees and young players that the Tigers are going to be bringing in, probably exceeding like 7 to 11, right? You have to keep some type of experience, leadership, and depth. And again, pick 25 sounds awesome, but in my opinion, Tom Lynch will be able to help Richmond more, most likely, than pick 25 will for the Tigers, because you can add pick 25, and let's just say you draft a key forward at that pick. He's going to go into the Richmond Football Club, and he's going to have Jacob Kazitsky and Samson Ryan as like his forward mentors and the forwards he has to look up to. But let's just say you take a forward at pick 20 and you keep Tom Lynch. This key forward now gets to go into the football club, getting to work with one of the best ever key forwards who has played for Richmond, a 2-time premiership player, would easily have a Coleman or 2 if it wasn't for injuries, has made a couple All-Australians, has won best and fairest, left, right and centre, won one for the Tigers, he's won a bit for Gold Coast, a former AFL captain as well. That's invaluable right now, and the reality is that Richmond, who are going to be one of the worst teams probably seen in the last 10 years next season, if it's how it should probably be, Tom Lynch is a guy who can desperately help your team, and you haven't had for the last 2 years. And if he stays healthy, at least it'll be something semi-exciting to watch and, you know, keep Richmond fans entertained. Not just that, a player like, you know, Sam Lawler, Harvey Langford, Jagger Smith, Finn O'Sullivan, whoever Richmond decide to go and draft, will take a lot more confidence knowing that in their first couple games, they can kick to Tom Lynch rather than just kicking to Jacob Kazitsky is just invaluable. So I expect Richmond to keep Tom Lynch. I don't think he is going to be getting traded. He could leave very well next year, and that's up to him. It could be in Richmond's best interest to let him leave next year, because maybe, again, these players will have a year of Tom Lynch, and maybe they won't need him as much anymore. But they're going to need him next year, so I don't think they should trade him or even think about it. So it's just really how it is. Again, another report as well that was interesting is said that Carlton are attempting to try and trade for West Coast pick 3, being reported by Jay Clark. This is low-key something I could see happening. As far-fetched as it sounds, and the most probably unlikely thing, I think, again, West Coast will go and want to keep pick 3. But in saying that, as mentioned, West Coast originally were going to trade pick 14, or we're going to receive, pick 14 for Tom Barrass and all of that, and then we're going to move on that pick for Liam Baker. The reality of this situation is now pick 14 is at Carlton, and with how it's kind of sitting, they may still want to acquire that pick to move on and, potentially go and get Baker and, sort out these situations. So if Carlton wanted to move up to pick 3 and bring in an elite player in one of the best draft classes we've ever seen, they could strike a deal where maybe the Blues offer them pick 12, 14, and, even a player like Matthew Owies, who's out of contract right now and looking for a new home. If you offered 12, 14 and Matt Owies, who is actually a really good small forward for them, I think kicking over 30 goals, for pick 3, I don't know if West Coast can really turn that down. I don't know. They bring in Matt Owies, a really solid small forward role player for their team. They can use pick 14 to maybe send to like Richmond for Liam Baker and a future 3rd. I don't know what the whole situation would be. And then they get to keep a pick in pick 12 in one of the best draft classes around. So they've really shaped their team. Again, I still don't think this is going to happen. To West Coast, maybe pick 3 is still more valuable, and they could probably see themselves getting Matt Owies for free anyway. But if Matt Owies is not the guy they want, and Carlton said, we'll give you 12, 14, and our 3rd round pick this year for 3, that's a lot. And I don't know if you can truly deny that. So you could turn pick 3 into 12, Liam Baker, a 3rd this year, and a future 3rd. I don't know. It's really interesting. It's something that will definitely be looked at. And Carlton, to me, though, it could be a situation where maybe it's better for them just to take, pick 12 and 14 in the draft and just add to their team, because maybe they don't need a superstar draftee player. Maybe they just need to go and draft like positional needs. They may need another tall defender to help out with Wiedering. I know they just got in Haynes, but sometimes their defensive stocks can definitely let them down. Maybe they look at Trainer, or maybe they go for another small forward and like Joe Berry to help out with their squad, who has been a really good player. Or do they go and look at a Harvey Langford in this draft, or look at a Jagger Smith, a Finn O'Sullivan to come and help their midfield? There's a lot of ifs and buts all going into this. Again, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments section down below. If you haven't already though, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest AFL content and news. Go and subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/vlogging channels as well, which will be getting linked in the description down below. But yeah, as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.